They're not observing you out of admiration, they're analyzing you. Manipulators aren't drawn to strength. They seek out softness, emotional vulnerabilities, and the hunger for validation. The second they detect hesitation in your voice or guilt in your expression, they make their move. This world doesn't operate on fairness. It runs on psychological tactics disguised behind smiles, flattery, and phony empathy. You were raised to be genuine, kind, and transparent, but manipulators twist that kindness into a weapon, warp your honesty, and dig through your openness like scavengers. If you keep playing the noble role in a world full of hunters, you'll keep ending up as prey. Niccolo Machiavelli once said, "Anyone who always strives to act virtuously will soon meet with ruin." In short, if you want to endure, you need to grasp the rules of the game. And if you aim to rise above, you must outplay everyone else. This isn't a lecture, it's a guide to psychological strategy. A blueprint built on calculated thought, sharp perception, and unsparing clarity. You're about to discover how to identify manipulators within moments, how to turn their tricks against them, and how to navigate chaos with unreadable calm. From now on, you don't respond, you assess. You don't explain, you perceive. You don't chase approval because true power never pleads. The mirror defense. There's one thing manipulators loathe above all, their own reflection. They don't want to be seen, they want to observe. Their control depends on the illusion that they're more intelligent, more composed, always a step ahead. But the moment you reflect their own actions back at them, their game falls apart. The mirror defense is straightforward. Instead of reacting emotionally, respond by mirroring their behavior with intent. If they speak cryptically, answer with silence. If they press you for clarity, return the question. If they offer insincere kindness as bait, reply with cool politeness. Never deepen the emotional interaction. You're not feeding them any new energy. You're making them face their own behavior. Why does this work? Because manipulation thrives on imbalance. They must act while you respond. When you mirror instead of react, they're thrown off. Their control slips. They're no longer choreographing the dance. They're watching their own moves rebound. In practice, this might look like maintaining eye contact when provoked, answering probing questions with, "That's interesting. Why do you ask?" or calmly reflecting their tone and phrasing with emotional distance. You're not battling them. You're holding up their disguise for them to see. And most people can't bear that reflection for long. Always remember, the harder they push, the clearer you mirror. If you're ready to stop being predictable, say it loud. I see through the game. Because a manipulator's strongest weapon isn't what they say, it's how you react. They test you with subtle jabs, forced smiles, or compliments laced with hidden barbs. And the second you flinch, justify, or over-explain, they win because now you've stepped into the emotional trap they designed. You're playing their game, but here's the power move. Remove emotion from the equation entirely. Become a void, cold, calm, unreadable. When you stop reacting, they lose their grip. Manipulators don't know what to do when the playing field goes quiet. Your silence becomes a reflection they can't tolerate. Your calm neutrality becomes a maze they can't navigate. When someone tries to get a rise out of you, give them absolutely nothing, no irritation, no grin, not even confusion, just unwavering eye contact and stillness. If they joke at your expense, don't laugh, don't correct them. Let the silence stretch. Make them feel the unease of their tactics falling flat. This isn't about being numb, it's about holding power. Movement isn't the enemy. Public emotion is. In private, you feel everything. But in front of a manipulator, you show nothing. Because emotion is information, and you never hand intel to the opposition. Strategic delay. Manipulators thrive on urgency. They pressure you to reply now. Decide fast. React on impulse. Why? Because speed disables clarity. And when you're rushing, you overlook the trap until you're caught. This is where you disrupt their flow with one of the most overlooked tactics: delay. The skill of not replying when they expect it. The discipline of slowing time, forcing them to sit with uncertainty. Silence isn't passivity, it's precision. Strategic delay gives you room to read their motives, study their rhythm, and sense their anxiety. That anxiety always reveals the truth. Here's how this works in real life. Someone sends a message loaded with urgency. Can you do this for me? Or, I need your answer right now. Most people scramble to satisfy. You, on the other hand, wait hours, even a full day. You build psychological distance. The manipulator starts to unravel. They begin to question their leverage. They might double text. They might soften or lash out, revealing their instability. Either way, you gain ground. Machiavelli understood the influence of timing. He didn't react. He struck when it aligned with his strategy, not theirs. You're not here to be constantly accessible. You're here to move with purpose. Strategic delay restores your time, your narrative, and your control. And it doesn't stop with texts. Use it in person, too. When confronted, resist the impulse to respond right away. Pause. Breathe. Let silence speak for you. That pause will unsettle them. They'll start filling it with their own doubts and insecurities. You're no longer defending, they are. You don't owe anyone immediate access to your thoughts. Delayed response isn't weakness. It's evidence that you're thinking, evaluating, choosing to respond on your terms, if at all. This is how leaders move. This is how power asserts itself without ever needing to raise its voice. Manipulators use two primary tools to control you: praise and guilt. If they can't draw you in with flattery, they'll try to bind you with a sense of duty. Both tactics are mental pressure points. One tugs at your ego, the other at your sense of morality. And once you respond to either, you're already under their influence. But here's the shift. Instead of rejecting the reward outright, you reverse the script. You flip the power dynamic. You stop seeking validation and make them seek yours. This is called reward reversal, one of the coldest, most precise strategies in psychological manipulation. Rather than feeding their tactics with approval, attention, or agreement, you pull back. You take away the one thing manipulators crave the most: your emotional response. In doing so, you completely alter the hierarchy of the interaction. Let's unpack that. When someone showers you with flattery, you're the best at this. No one does it like you. They're casting ego bait. Most people take it, smiling, thanking them, and feeling the urge to return the kindness. But when you respond with apathy, maybe a quiet nod, or even shifting the topic, you send a clear message. I don't need your praise. I'm already aware of my worth. Now, guilt. This tactic is trickier because it comes dressed in moral clothing. After all I've done for you, or you really can't help me just this once. Here, the manipulator is trying to exploit your need to appear loyal, kind, or decent. But again, reward reversal steps in. You shift the frame not by defending yourself, but by remaining emotionally neutral. You simply say, not this time, and move on. No justification. No emotional response. Because defending guilt only strengthens its grip and makes you look guilty. Here's the core truth. People crave validation, especially manipulators. They feed on being noticed, obeyed, and emotionally acknowledged. But when you become the gatekeeper of that validation, when you decide when and how, or even if it's given, they begin to unravel. You control the reward now. A powerful real-world example. In a meeting, a manipulative coworker takes credit for something you did. They're expecting you to either lash out or withdraw. You do neither. Instead, you casually praise another team member for their input, completely bypassing the manipulator. That's reward reversal. You've denied them the reaction, denied them the attention, redirected influence on your terms. That's dominance without confrontation. Reward reversal turns you into the one who sets the frame. You're no longer dancing to their tune. You're writing the music. You don't chase recognition. You become the one others silently seek recognition from. You invent the game. They follow its rules. Never forget, approval is leverage. And the one who decides when it's granted or withheld controls the space. Ambiguity, the shield. Where clarity makes you predictable, ambiguity makes you a threat. Manipulators treat people like maps. They look for patterns. They listen for inconsistencies. They ask casual questions meant to disarm. So, what's on your mind? Why didn't you reply right away? What's your next move? But here's the thing they're not asking. Because they want clarity. They want access. The moment you offer clarity, you hand over your coordinates. And once they have those, they begin mapping out how to exploit you. That's why the most potent psychological shield isn't confrontation, it's ambiguity. Controlled vagueness. Strategic silence. The refusal to elaborate. Because if they can't pinpoint your position, they can't destabilize you. You don't owe anyone access to your inner thoughts, not your plans, your weaknesses, or your next step. Manipulators rely on the illusion of emotional intimacy. They feign connection not out of care, but as a tactic to extract information. They're searching for openings. But when you become unreadable, their methods collapse. You're no longer a game they can play, you become mist. You're no longer a predictable rival. You're an unsolvable puzzle. Ambiguity armor starts with your speech. Stop providing definitive answers. Stop offering lengthy justifications. Speak with calm precision in gaps they can't fill. When someone asks, "What are you looking to get from this?" say, "Still weighing it out." When asked, "What's your stance on this?" reply, "Depends on how it plays out." When someone demands, "What's wrong with you?" don't vent. Say, "I'm thinking it through." Keep it short. Keep it vague. Keep it grounded. Yes, they'll push harder, that's to be expected. But as your silence stretches, they grow louder. And the louder they become, the more they reveal. Ambiguity also lives in your body language. Pay attention to it. Don't oversmile. Don't nod too often. Don't lean in excessively. Every signal of interest or approval becomes a lever to manipulators. Instead, give them composure. Give them pauses. Make them question whether they impressed, annoyed, or puzzled you. You're no longer the target. You're the unknown. And here's the Machiavellian insight. Ambiguity isn't a flaw. It's a tactic. Machiavelli advised rulers to be both lion and fox, strength and subtlety. Strength is what you show. Cunning is what you hide. When you embrace ambiguity, you're not being unclear. You're being untouchable. You introduce uncertainty into their strategy while remaining anchored in your own. You disrupt their attempts to interpret, decode, or anticipate you. Consider the shift in power this creates during conversations. When you speak less, they speak more. Silence is uncomfortable. People rush to fill it, and in doing so, they reveal their anxieties, motives, and limits, all while you stay observant. In relationships, when you avoid overlabeling and keep parts of your world undisclosed, you hold leverage. You generate contrast. One moment you're present and warm. The next you're elusive. That unpredictability creates intrigue, caution, and attachment. People don't want to lose what they can't fully grasp. Mystery creates perceived worth. Even in professional environments, ambiguity becomes influence. The person who speaks last in negotiations holds the advantage. The one who conceals their full agenda causes others to guess, and guessing slows them down. In leadership, this becomes a weapon. You're not aloof, you're intentional. You're not detached, you're measured. You're not passive, you're commanding your space with precision. Ambiguity creates room. And within that space, you gain clarity. You collect intel. You observe as others reveal their intentions before you ever reveal your position. You become a psychological shadow. Always there, never fully visible. So, the next time someone demands certainty from you, pause. The next time you feel pressured to explain yourself, resist it. The more they crave understanding, the more you withhold. Not out of fear, but out of control. In a world bursting with loud displays and artificial openness, the most powerful person is the one no one can decode. The exit threat. A manipulator's influence collapses the moment they believe you could walk away and mean it. Most people stay in harmful dynamics far too long. They argue, they beg, they try to rationalize another's toxic behavior, hoping to fix the relationship, salvage the deal, or stabilize the situation. But manipulators thrive on emotional attachment. They count on your fear of letting go. They test the limits of your tolerance before you finally snap. But once you stop clinging, stop justifying, stop trying to prove yourself, you become a psychological danger. That's where the exit threat takes root. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's not announced. It's a quiet confidence you carry. A silent message that says, I'm not dependent on this. I choose to be here, and I can walk away without hesitation. That unspoken possibility destabilizes manipulators. Because they don't operate from authentic power, they rely on control through dependency. They entangle you emotionally, financially, or socially. They make their presence feel essential. So, the mere idea of your detachment shakes their foundation. Detachment is a manipulator's worst fear. Why? Because it makes you unreadable. You're no longer driven by their pressure. You're not seeking their validation. You're no longer emotionally tied to the relationship or the outcome. You remain composed, grounded, and fully willing to vanish at any moment. That is absolute leverage. Let's bring this to life. In a toxic relationship, the manipulator guilts you every time you try to set a boundary. You say no, and they respond, so, you don't care anymore? You ask for space, and they accuse, I guess I don't matter to you now. Their strategy is simple: erode your confidence, make you doubt your right to boundaries. But one day, you don't explain, you don't argue, you don't plead. You just say, okay, and disappear for a few days. No calls, no texts, just a clean, calm absence. That silence cuts deeper than any fight, not because you're trying to punish, but because for the first time, they feel powerless. The same silence they once used as a weapon now echoes back at them, and they spiral. Or in a professional setting, a colleague continually undermines you, takes credit for your achievements, or pressures you to carry their load. Most people complain or try to justify themselves, but the strategic mind doesn't engage. You keep a record of everything. You deliver results. You quietly build your network. And one day, you request a transfer, or better yet, you resign and step directly into a better opportunity. No begging, no warnings. You exit with your value fully intact. That's the exit threat, a form of psychological oxygen control. You become the one who can shut it down at any moment, and they feel it. But here's the crucial part. This strategy only works if it's genuine. You have to truly believe that you don't need external validation, that your worth isn't tied to how others behave or what they think. The threat of departure only carries weight if you're genuinely ready to walk away. So how do you project that without ever saying a word? First, time control. Don't always be available. Don't always respond right away. Don't always explain where you've been. Let absence become part of your presence. Make them wonder. Second, emotional restraint. When someone disrespects you, don't flinch. Don't argue. Don't even look hurt. Appear calm. Appear done. Let them see that their actions no longer move you emotionally. Third, independence, financial and psychological. If someone has control over your income or living conditions, they'll always feel entitled to influence your behavior. Quietly build your options. Prepare your exit in private. And when the time comes, leave with grace, not noise. Machiavelli once wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, if one must choose between the two." What many overlook is this: fear doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes the most unsettling person in the room is the one who smiles, says nothing, and walks away with everything they built and everything you once took for granted. This tactic isn't about ghosting or being cold without cause. It's about ensuring every relationship in your life is a choice, not a chain. The exit threat creates clarity. It shows who truly respects your boundaries and who only stayed because they assumed you'd never leave. Some people love you only as long as they think they own you. Remove that illusion, and you'll see their real face. This isn't just protection against manipulators, it transforms every relationship. People value what they believe they could lose. And when you move with quiet detachment, manipulative tactics fall apart. The guilt trips don't work. The gaslighting falls flat. The emotional hooks break down because you're not playing the game to earn approval. You've already arrived whole. You're not proving anything, you're guarding your peace, no matter the cost. Master-level strategy. When to play dumb. Sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one who pretends not to notice. Manipulators count on confrontation. They feed on your reactions. So when you offer them nothing, no defense, no explanation, no emotional feedback, you disarm them without saying a word. This is the subtle art of playing dumb. You see the setup. You recognize the manipulation. But you let them think you don't. That alone disrupts their rhythm. They toss a passive insult your way, you respond with a faint smile and move on. They test you with a cornering question, you dismiss it with a disinterested shrug. All the while, you're watching, analyzing, collecting information, and waiting. The real strength of this tactic lies in patience. You don't react when they want you to. You wait for the right moment. You allow them to feel victorious, to think they've deceived you. And just when they're most confident, you calmly unveil everything effortlessly. Because the real victory isn't about proving them wrong on the spot. It's about demonstrating they never held any power over you to begin with. Let them believe you're naive while you quietly construct the framework to dismantle them. You're no longer a target. You're no longer the person you were at the beginning. You've stepped into a state of mind that few ever attain, the unreadable mindset. You no longer explain your silence. You no longer justify your detachment. You don't react when provoked because you've now learned what they never wanted you to realize. Power doesn't pursue, it selects. You've stopped supplying emotion to those who once thrived off your reactions. You've silenced the urge to appease, to fix, to explain. In its place stands stillness, precision, and cold discernment. You now speak only when necessary and with intent. You enter rooms without needing to be liked. People now adjust to your presence. You no longer adjust to theirs. And when manipulators try their usual games, you don't fight back. You dissolve them with pure indifference. That is true power. That is psychological command. You don't seek validation anymore, you radiate authority. You're no longer baited, drained, or emotionally exposed. You're invisible to those who once believed they had you figured out. And to a manipulator, that is their worst nightmare. Someone they cannot control. If you've reached that state, comment below. I am unreadable. I am untouchable. This is your moment. Your war begins now. And this time, you hold the strings.